Psalm 122. I rejoiced with those who said to me, "Let us go to the house of the Lord." Our feet are standing in your gates, Jerusalem. Jerusalem is built like a city that is closely compacted together. That is where the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, to praise the name of the Lord according to the statute given to Israel. There stand the thrones for judgment, the thrones of the house of David. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you be secure. May there be peace within your walls and security within your citadels. For the sake of my family and friends, I will say, peace be within you. For the sake of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your prosperity.
For many years, people are saying, well, the U.S. has interests in the Middle East, economic interests, social interests. And we, people of faith, coming from a church background, we have values. And we think that morally certain things are important and that values must be upheld. And I think just in the past few days and weeks and months, we begin to see more and more these two come together. Where in the realpolitik of Washington, where people talk about reality and the necessity for looking after national interests, are more and more coming together with our values. And I think we are fortunate to be here at a time and place when we hope, are able to make a difference in that equation. Because through our advocacy, through the work that we do, through our meetings that we have with members of Congress, by going down to the White House, to the National Security Council, by going to the State Department, we are constantly pushing our values and saying there is nothing inconsistent and need our values reinforce the national interests that we have in the Middle East and in the United States and in the world. And we can talk a great deal about details, about borders, what happened in 1948, about the lines in 1967, what about water, what about refugees. These are all extremely important. But underlying all these issues that politicians and experts can talk about, we all know there's something else. There's fear. There's mistrust. There's a feeling that, my goodness, how is this going to affect my life and my children? And this fear is something that we, I think, all have to work to help overcome. As Christians, we know it all comes down to love. And that sometimes that love is really hard. Sometimes it means loving people you find very difficult to get along with. But it really comes down to that. And we have to not only have love in our own hearts, but help the two sides themselves get together to understand and work and accommodate each other and realize the importance of each other for peace.
In 2011, if you wanted to get together a meeting of Palestinian Christians, it might be just as easy to have that meeting in Houston or my hometown of Brooklyn or Lansing, Michigan, as it is to do in Israel proper or the occupied Palestinian lands. The population of Christians in the birthplace of Christianity has been in steady decline through the 20th century through to today. Large numbers of mobile, educated, and politically ambiguous people during an era of hardening confrontation between Jews and Muslims just found it easier to be themselves somewhere else. Even with that decline, the story of Jesus, the Christian faith, and ritual are always alive in that part of the world, always renewed there. Christians continually pour in from the rest of the world to see, to touch, to experience one of the places on earth where the membrane between this world and the next seems thinnest and most permeable. His Excellency, the Most Reverend Elias Shakur, is the Archbishop of the Greek Melkite Catholic Archeparchy of Akko, Haifa, Nazareth, and all Galilee. Please welcome him.
from my childhood, I learned my Bible on the lap of my mother. She used to go and work on the fields with my father. When she came in the evening, she was so tired, wanted just to rest. But I was waiting for her. So in order to calm me down, she took me in her lap and told me the story of Jesus, of Mary, of Joseph, of David, of Solomon. She knows the Bible by heart. It's there that I learned that Jesus Christ did not come to say, if you are suffering, that's great, happy you are. That's neither great nor happy. She used to tell me he did not say to his disciples, sit down, you are blessed because you are peacemakers. You are blessed because you want justice and peace. No, my child. He was inviting them to get up, to go ahead, to do something, to move, to get their hands dirty in order to bring justice around and to make peace a reality. She always said to me, never accept to be a peace contemplator. Peace does not need contemplators. Peace needs proactive people who get their hands dirty. I was already prepared not to refuse the idea of priesthood. And little by little, I loved to become priest because I said I might give my life to restore a little bit the broken dignity of my people, to start to try to recuperate a little bit of the self-esteem that we lost. And I was sent to Paris for 6 years to study what? Bible, theology, philosophy, etymology, history, sacraments, goodness, what not? 6 years, that's a long time. Now that I'm Archbishop, may I confess, I forgot everything. Everything. The only thing I remember is that God is love and God does not kill. That's all. That's more than enough for me.
The revolutionaries have rejected violence as a means of achieving their goals and condemned the violence used against them by the state. They have made this their mantra. Therefore, it is very unlikely that those young people who want to take arms against will want to take arms against Israel or join forces with those who want to fight against Israel.
In Egypt, after the protests and so forth, Egyptians have a clearer idea of what they don't want than they do of what they do want for their future, right? I already talked about some of the things that people have agreed they don't want. They don't want a monarchical president. They don't want human rights abuses, torture, police brutality. These were widespread in Egypt. They don't want corruption and cronyism controlling the economy. They don't want rigged elections. In terms of what they do want for a political and economic system, that's a little bit less formed at this point.
Helping people live lives of dignity, I think, has to be at the root of U.S. policy. Another friend, journalist Spencer Ackerman, recognized this very early on during President Obama's campaign. Rather than democracy promotion, it is dignity promotion. Democracy is one aspect of helping people live dignified lives of opportunity and security. I think a great illustration of this sentiment is found in one of our great classic American movies, Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life. The great scene, one of my father's favorites, where Jimmy Stewart makes the great speech to Mr. Potter, who's talking about the rabble. He says, this rabble, they do most of the work of paying, living, and dying. Is it too much to ask for them to do that with a couple of decent rooms and a bath? Is it too much to ask for them to have dignity? It shouldn't be. And again, I go back even farther. This same sentiment was it's part of the Matthew 25, 31 through 46, the parables of the sheep and the goats, which I can summarize as follows. We are all in this together. Your dignity and security and my dignity and security are intimately bound up together.
fundamental contradictions, I think, in this administration's approach is that on the one hand, it has identified resolving the conflict as a vital national security interest. But I think one of the biggest problems is that you can't say that resolving this conflict is a vital national security interest and then somehow set it aside for whatever reason, domestic political reasons, bilateral relationship with Israel, and so forth. It's either a national security interest that is vital to the United States, or it's not.
But one thing, never give up on, that is the hope. Hope is absolutely essential, because now is an opportunity that will not recur to resolve justly the Arab-Israel conflict in general and the Palestinian-Israeli conflict in particular.
And if by any chance, because of the generosity of your organization, you have some sympathy for the Palestinians, if you have read one of my books or other books, and you feel the real suffering of the Palestinians, you realize that these are people who have paid so much for the independence of others, and you decided to be on our side with Palestinians. Goodness, why not? Bless your heart. Be on our side. For once you will be on the right side. But if being on our side, you allow yourself to become anti-Jew, we do not need your friendship. By doing so, you become one more enemy, and we don't need that. We need one more common friend. I even don't ask you to try to destroy this horrible wall that divided families and society. I rather invite you, instead of going do the impossible to destroy this horrible wall, I invite you to build a bridge over the wall between one Palestinian and one Jew. We Jews and Palestinians, we do not need to learn how to live together. We don't need. We need just to remember how we used to live together for centuries and centuries. And the past 63 years should be put between parentheses. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much.